one of the best examples of voices adding personality is part fucking 5.
Yes.
Because, tell you what, when you are reading about the gangstars...
The gangstars, yes.
Right? They all have their personalities, and they're doing what they do, and the actions are the same. But when you can hear Little Narancha's fucking, you know... Yeah, you can hear him freaking out.
Yeah.
And when you can hear Abacchio's deep asshole... like, fuck you, Giorno attitude.
Yeah.
You distinctly, like, have them separate as personalities, and you distinctly can tell each one from each other.
Or King Crimson's big old nunny.
Yeah, sure.
Constantly. What a weird portrayal of the invincible villain. In that he is just constantly upset.
It's also the complete opposite of Killer Queen, in that Killer Queen was a silent, stoic cat.
Yeah.
And this thing, the Stand, is the angry, talkative one.
And just making all sorts of fucking smear faces on every frame of animation.
In case you didn't know how angry he was, he's got a little emoji on his forehead to remind you.
Yeah. Like, Eternal. I hate it.
Like, the face on his forehead is the noise of, just tell me how it works.
Yeah.
I need to know how it works. Just fucking tell me. Just fucking tell me.
Right before we started the podcast, I was like, man, they really went above and beyond animating. This is how it works.
Yes. So, 2 things about Jojo current part is, like, we've been introduced to King Crimson, and that's awesome. Just to cap off the last point, the personalities of each of the members is now way more clear and crisp and distinct from each other, and that helps because I remember that at the point we hit here where they have big decisions to make, and motherfuckers are like, well, I guess I'm just dropping out then, and stuff like that. Like, I remember it being way more of a blur as to like
flat?
Not flat, but it was more like, what was your personality again? Right? Because it was like, I know your looks and I know your stand, but I'm just reading your text in my head.
Yeah.
And you're all kind of assholes, and you're all kind of wacky, crazy, violent kids.
Yeah, that's right.
So you kind of you blend together in a couple ways outside of these little idiosyncrasies, like Mista with his fucking
Number 4.
bad luck shit.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, there's these little things. But for the most part, I remember being like, wait, what exactly was the Fugo personality? Yeah. You know? And, like, I think this really, really has, like, a better feeling to it, where you get to see the struggle, and when they all talk about their reasons for sticking around or not or whatever, you get, like, okay, like, Fugo has opinions. Yes, he's doing his thing. But everybody, you get their distinct reasons. Whereas in part 3, you never are going to look at Abdul and go like, you and Polnareff and...
oh, no.
You know what I mean? Like, you're all very fucking clearly different people.
Well, it helped that 3 was like a world tour, and everybody was from a different country, and most of them spoke different primary languages.
And Okuyasu is a big dumb idiot, and fucking...
Koichi's a tiny man who is 5'2", by the way, so
exactly.
I am Koichi-sized.
So, you know, and then, like, so that's all very, very clear and distinct. They're all Overwatch characters standing next to each other, but the gang stars tend to blend in a little bit.
I feel like there's
the voices really fix that.
I feel like Mista and Fugo in part 5 so far represent a bit of not missed opportunity, but like you get to see the writing crutch of Araki just a little bit. Like, the stand's too strong.
Yes,
it's gotta go.
Yep,
it's gotta go.
Yeah,
followed by, haha, I'm really good at shooting you with a gun. My stand protects me from guns.
Yes.
Like, every time. Every time.
Yeah. Because the joke of, what about my ultimate stand? Gun. It's like, well, there's very few opportunities.
I am the person most able to defeat the gun.
But also because, and it's like, the higher up the fucking... To be fair, the higher up the chain you go, the more you have to be able to defend against guns.
Yeah.
Because guess what the average non-stand user's coming at you with?
A gun.
But
it's a thing.
Yeah, but it is hilarious.
It's a thing that I feel almost never comes up.
Shout out to White Album Gently Weeps.
Like, let's take a look at fucking what do you call part 5 so far, in which there's a group of assassins going against the team, right? And this was a couple weeks ago. That's okay. And the assassins are, of course, they're all going to be stand users. They're all going to try and do shit, right? They get the drop on them numerous times. And, like, I'll use my stand to do a bunch of stupid bullshit to them. When all I can think of, it's like, what if you just walked up to Narancia's car, pointed a gun at him, and shot him? That would also work. That actually would have also worked.
Providing that it was Narancia.
Yeah.
And not anyone else.
Sure.
Right? But yeah, but you have to get lucky to know in the stand. But
like,
yeah,
we're talking about a big mafia organization, right? Mm-hmm. 10 guys.
Yeah. Although you have to also assume, like, let's assume that Bruno is being super careful on the security.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, sure.
What if like 10 capos showed up and one had a shotty and the others had handguns and bats? Like, I'm pretty sure that would work.
Okay, but guess what? Apply that to literally every other story that you've ever read.
No,
Apply that to every other movie you've ever seen.
No! Oh, no, it's...
All right? Angry crowd of people with a bunch of weapons fixes every story.
Not
or
Yakuza.
Okay, well, sure.
In Yakuza 5, Kiryu fights a group of 100 dudes armed with bats, knives, chains, and rocket launchers.
Damn. But that's...
Because he's a taxi driver, god damn it.
But the power of the dragon is
it's
undefeatable.
The tattoo or
yeah,
something.
Okay, well... I mean, I always thought it would be super rad, because in a situation like that, if, like, Mista could just throw him out and deflect everything back as much as possible.
Yeah.
But unless he had a harvest-level amount of fucking little Sex Pistols...
Yeah.
He couldn't possibly.
Yeah. It just seems like a weaker form of Harvest, honestly.
No, I like his better.
Okay.
Because the ability to intercept bullet speed projectiles is
it's
ridiculous,
a faster but smaller form of Harvest.
And thus more useful, ultimately. Because think about how many projectile-based stand battles happened.
There's a couple.
And having a fucking field around you of... deflect that shit.
But you're never going to get coupons.
Pass.
With that shit.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's that. And the other thing they did was, boy, does animation and David production deciding to revisit those panels help a lot in explaining how King Crimson works.
Because it's all you need to do is make the panel move from this panel to this panel, and then you go, oh, that's what he's doing!
So you see, in the original manga, and here's the thing is, it doesn't help that the first Duang translations were all terrible, and did a really bad job using English to convey what King Crimson was doing.
Yeah.
But even once we got the better ones, there's still questions, right? And you can talk about cause and effect, but it's...
I don't want to talk about cause and effect.
I know, because the problem with cause and effect is that because the problem is that, like, you still have to apply it to the thing that he wants to affect. So, like, you can hand wave it by saying it's just keeping the effect and removing the cause.
Which is how it was always explained to me, which made no sense to me.
Because that's how the chocolate ends up in Narancia's mouth. But it doesn't explain how, like, when he chooses to interact with something...
it moves still.
It does still occur, you know? And so, anyway, like, or, like, it's like the product of what I decide to focus on is what gets...
It's really weird because they took, like, the most esoteric, complex stand ever and just said, it's the ability to move. It's it's just a movement ability. That's actually all it really is.
But it's also a disorienting one because everybody comes out of it going, what just happened?
Everyone else gets disoriented but me. And that's really useful.
Yes. What the animation... And here's the thing is, when you're reading manga... panel to panel, guess what's happening? Time is skipping between panels.
But that's complicated to read.
So you have to convey that the thing that happens naturally between panels is still happening, except in between this panel.
Yeah, whereas when you put
the power exists between the negative spaces of the border.
But when you put it in anime and you have I don't know what the effect is called, but you have like a visible distortion and it skips forward.
The characters are in negative space.
Yeah.
They're all floating in a void where there's no background, and the actions they're committing to are still playing out. So you see them happening, and in fact, I want to say they cut the 3D models at some points almost.
Maybe.
I don't think
I only watched it the once.
There was some really smooth moments that made me go, I wonder if they did. But anyway, and then you get to show King Crimson see Bruno punching, and then step out of the way, and then
Bruno
move
keeps
over
punching.
Here. And you're like, okay, and now that moment did not happen, and Bruno goes, what? But then keeps his attack going. So they fixed it by smoothing it out with some CG, adding and elaborating to the moments, because they really they did more with those scenes than the original manga explained to you.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm really glad that because here, how do I put this? Part 3, the end of part 3 is all about, okay, what is happening? That's most of the end of part 3 is what is happening. And then it's like, crap, how do I actually stop that? I'll just do the same thing. It's kind of, part 4, the entire last arc of part 4 is what is happening. Like, and how, what? Right? So it would be
more like why is happening.
Well, yeah, why is happening?
Why is happening?
It would be annoying to get to part 5 and have the same structure. So you have within a 15-minute span, this is what's happening. Everyone now knows what is happening, and we've discussed the exact counter to the problem, but it's really tough. It's just think way farther ahead. Like way, way, way farther.
The episode takes 2 episodes to explain the deep mystery.
Yeah.
And
now we know it, and we can move forward knowing that.
Yeah, but there is so much more deeper mystery.
I know, but like, what I mean is, like, what if in part 3 they got to Darby and they won the poker game, and he just told them?
Sure. Yeah.
And then they just rolled up on Dio's house, going, yeah, okay.
But the thing that's interesting about part 5, and I won't go any further because it's getting into unaired
concept
stuff. Yeah, but there's stuff that makes part 5 way more of a challenge for the heroes than you would realize that they hand wave. So some of the biggest, hardest things they have to deal with in the story, including King Crimson, there's aspects to it that the story just kind of goes, oh, and then there's this, right? Mm-hmm. And you go, oh yeah, okay, that's a little other thing. But that's actually a major, major problem that you're not spending enough time or emphasis on, because holy fuck, that actually makes the battle real. Mm-hmm. The other things, the other aspects, if you would, of King Crimson. So that was interesting to see how they fixed that.
Fascinating, really.
It works. And
it just works.
And and there was significantly less confusion this week than there was last week with us watching it.